welcome back to another episode of The Unstable Brew, where we discuss all things not quite normal, brewing up in our lives, this world, and maybe even beyond. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Charity.
Let's get brewing!
Yeah.
I kind of messed that intro up just a smidge.
Do you want to redo it?
Nah. It
sounds fine.
It's
fine.
I'm tired, if I'm gonna be honest. And
you're in the middle of a lot of stuff right now.
I am, and there's a lot of stuff kind of happening at work, because just work and what I do, and then trying to get moved in, and we're planning on making the big move this weekend, and that's just...
so tiring.
It is. Matt and I decided to take this Monday and Tuesdays to kind of like a little bit of a break, also is to give him a chance to pack some stuff in the middle room. But then I told him from like Wednesday on,
you gotta buckle down.
It's go.
Yeah, because the last thing that you want to end up is day of moving and you still have stuff in your cabinets, you still have stuff in closets, and you still have stuff like, I can't tell you, we've had a couple of moves where that's happened to us because while I am very good at packing, my husband is not always very good at packing, and so things inevitably end up left somewhere, and we always end up having to pack some stuff last minute, and it's stressful. So you don't want that.
So the problem with that is Matt and I thought about this. It's kind of sad, but I thought about this. Every time that we have had to move, it has never really been like a normal or organized move. It's a chaotic move. And what I mean by that is, let me give you some prime examples of chaotic moving. Okay? I did not want to have to deal with having multiple boxes for pots and pans for my kitchen. So instead, I just get a big tote that has wheels on one side of it, fill that bitch up with all of our kitchen stuff that I feel won't break, so primarily metal, and put the heavy stuff at the wheels, because let's be honest, typically when it's heavy, there's guys there that can do the moving. All you have to do is just lift one side up where you just use the wheels and you just roll that out. And if you have a U-Haul, which usually we do with a ramp, you can just roll that up the ramp and roll it down the ramp. Chaotic moving.
You call that chaotic. I call that smart. That sounds amazing.
Let's see, what's something else? Oh, there's lots of times where I just don't want to have to deal with like the bathroom or like the cleaning supplies or like anything underneath the sink. So like I just scoop all of that stuff in trash bags and go, I'll organize it later. So I'll have like trash bags upon trash bags of like random like to be fair, I keep the cleaning stuff together, so it's like usually trash bags of all cleaning stuff and trash bags of all. So like there's separation. We don't want to like accidentally poison the house.
Basically, just instead of using boxes, you use trash bags or you use tote bags.
Pretty much, because the thing is if any of this stuff gets broken or busts open or spills, it's already in a bag, and if everything else in it just gets ruined, we can just throw the thing out.
I mean,
I do that with shoes.
It's not bad. I do that with clothes. Whenever we move, I'll take all of my stuff in hangers and I'll literally just poke the hole in the top.
Genius idea.
Yeah, you poke the hole in the top, cover like 5, different hangers full of clothes, and then you put another one on the bottom and tie it up, and boom, you've got clothing bags.
Oh, you stop at 5?
Oh, no. No. I was using a generic number. Sometimes I'll have like 15.
I will
those things, I shove as many as I can fit. As many as I can fit inside that bag as possible.
Yeah. So I don't do the 2 way of it. I just go from the bottom, shove as much as I can, and then the drawstring I just wrap around the hook. So it's all together, and then then you can just easily transport it, hang it, and then just rip it apart.
Just rip it off. It makes for easy transfer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's no form of organization with this move of ours whatsoever, especially considering the boxes we're using is all of the boxes that I could get my hands on at work for the past 2 weeks. And we have essentially loaded the boxes we have, taken it to the house, unpacked it some random spot within the house just to go back and reuse them.
I mean, hey, it's recycling. You're doing well.
Exactly. Matt asked what we were going to do with all of the boxes when we were done, give them back. I was like, no. He made that comment as a joking statement, but me being me, I just responded in a very serious going, no, we're just going to tear them down and throw them away. They're going to end up in the trash anyways. We're just using them before it happens.
I mean, the only suggestion I might make is you tear them down and then you set them aside for later, just because you never know when you could use a box. But even then, that's not something that you have to do. But,
I was about to say, when is my later? We just bought a house.
No, it's not for moving. It's just like for general stuff of, oh crap, I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I've got to take to Goodwill. Or, oh crap, I've got all this stuff that I need to put in storage, but I need a box for it. It's like random things like that you just find that a box could come in handy. But I mean, even then, like, it's not necessary to keep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So yeah, that's been chaotic moving. Packed up most of our kitchen just for me to unpack it, and then Matt thinking that I took the silverware over to the new house,
and you didn't.
And I didn't. So here's the thing, you and I recorded last night.
Yeah.
Okay. And I get home, he's ordered Domino's, and he tells me that I have put him in a predicament. And I'm like, what do you mean? First off, he told me I could take his car, so I did. Well, I took my keys so I could lock the door.
So you have his car and your keys.
Correct.
That's not great.
So he couldn't leave to go get food.
That's a predicament.
So then he ordered Domino's. And then he went to go open the silverware drawer and saw that it was empty and didn't look. He used his man eyes is what happened. He used his man eyes and didn't look anywhere else. He didn't look up and scan any other part of the kitchen to see if maybe it was laying out somewhere.
If it's not in the drawer, then obviously it's gone.
Instead, he just looked for some kind of utensil and happened to find a plastic fork that we had gotten from one of our other previous nights of eating out. And used that instead. It was unopened, so it was unused.
That's good.
So then he asked me about the silverware, and I just dead ass looked at him and I went, it's on the it's on the microwave. And then he proceeds to try and make an excuse. Like, I showed him, I was like, well, I couldn't remember because you showed me all of this stuff in the kitchen at the other place, and I couldn't remember. And I was like,
but it's literally right there. All you have to do is look. Like, you look up from the counter.
Here's the thing. I showed him where I was thinking of putting the silverware.
Yeah.
But there was no silverware there.
I remember that because I was there and like there's no silverware there. That's fine. But if that's his excuse, again I say, you're in your home kitchen. You're standing right beside the microwave.
Oh,
your eyes!
No, I will make a correction. He's not right next to the microwave. Okay. The microwave's off to the side. But I'm just saying you could have just looked up and scanned around.
I know.
But, like, that's just me being me. But, yeah, I apparently put him in a predicament because apparently he thought I took the silverware. And I was like, no. I assumed we would probably still need silverware because we keep eating out through all of this. So I didn't take it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, you want to know the other thing? This is work related. This shows how brilliant I am.
Oh, dear.
This happened last week. I forgot to tell you yesterday.
Oh, gosh.
So now I have to tell it today. So, I'll try to make it quick, and then I'll let you do your spill, and then we'll actually get into this whole recording shindig. I have done so much talking. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no. I'm listening. I'm enjoying this.
I think it's my exhaustion kicking in. This is me, like, doing that toddler fight. I'm like, I'm tired.
But I can't fall asleep. I have to keep talking, so I can't fall asleep.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So this happened last week. Mine and Matt's usual routine is we ride to work together. He's typically the driver in the mornings, and whenever we come, we will go drop him off first. I'll get out, I'll get in the driver's seat, and I'll take the car to where I work. And then at lunchtime, I will take the car back. Like, I'll go pick him up for lunch. We'll go do our lunch thing. And then he takes the car back for the other half of the day.
Okay.
And then he comes and picks me up at the end of the day. Okay. That's our routine. We broke that routine one day.
And then all chaos ensued.
Absolutely. So one day, instead of Matt taking the car back to his work, I ended up keeping it and completely forgot. I had boxes at this point, and like, I'm talking to my coworkers at the end of the day, and I'm like, all right, bye, you guys have a good rest of y'all's evening. I go sit down. I'm just like looking at his phone, because usually Life 360 will notify me when he leaves, which isn't too long. Okay, it's like shortly after 5 o'clock, like 5:03, 5:04 is usually when it's like, Matt has left, da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, give it a couple more minutes, and then I'll actually stand outside the gate. I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my phone, and I see what time. I was like, man, it's taking Matt such a long time. And I look out in the parking lot, and I see this vehicle, and I keep looking at my phone thinking, man, where is Matt? He's taking a long time. And I look at this vehicle, and I'm like, that vehicle kind of looks like ours. And all of a sudden I get a text from Matt that goes, where are you at? I'm confused.
Oh my gosh, you're literally looking at your vehicle.
Oh, wait. Me confused as to why he's asking where I'm at. I immediately respond going, where are you at? To which text gets sent. I see the vehicle again, and I went, oh. I immediately call him, dying, laughing, going, I forgot I have the vehicle. I'm on my way right now. I'm so sorry. I love you so much.
That's phenomenal. Oh my gosh. That is 100% something that I would do.
And today I had his vehicle all day. So the running joke, and Matt even texted me. He texted me as I was going to go pick him up, saying, don't forget that you have the car.
We're all so tired, man. We're doing our best just to survive.
So,
oh my gosh.
That's all of my rambling. Would you like to provide some input?
I mean, my life is not nearly as exciting as yours right now.
Exciting?
I mean, like, you're going through so much. I'm like, I do work every day. My life is very monotonous right now, which is fine. I like that.
You're trying to survive a 4-year-old who's currently obsessed with numbers and is barely focusing on soccer.
Yeah, I've gotten used to that. That's just life at this point. Oh, you mean the constant bombs going off around me? Yeah, those are normal everyday bombs. No, my child, he is so smart. He is so smart.
He came in here
He's
and wrote
a little
down,
bit off, but he's so smart.
He wrote down 12 times 6 equals 72. I think he was right. I don't know.
He's right. He's right.
Shit, he's 4.
He'll sit there and go 36 plus 19 equals 55. 55 number block. 55 is my favorite number blocks. It's not his favorite number, though. That would be 8. He is a special little ball of knowledge that I'm like, and I kid you not. I kid
what do
you not.
do with this?
I don't know. That's the problem. It's like, I want to encourage this as much as possible, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm so tired of hearing numbers. But it's amazing because every single Sunday, there's a new person in the nursery. They immediately come out and just say, your son is so gifted with math. All he did the entire day at nursery was just play with numbers, and he'd sit there and start doing his addition, and then he'd do subtraction, but he would just start with multiplication, and he'd lose me from there. And I'm like, yep, welcome to my life. All day, every day, it's numbers. My little Sheldon.
Your little mathematician, apparently.
I love him to death, but oh my gosh, so many numbers all the time. But I mean, I can't say much. He gets it from me. When I was in the 4th grade, I was very number obsessed as well. And I can literally remember one day I was, for fun, creating my own division calculations where I would just try to see what is the largest number that I can divide. And I would tape pieces of construction paper together to make the page longer so I can make the number bigger. And I would try to divide it. And then I did really, really cool, but my dad got upset because I did it in Sharpie and it bled through and got on to the TV trays.
You want to know what kind of numbers kid I was? Okay. I was that kid who their mom and grandmother got her a cassette tape of multiplication so that way I could have it playing all the time and learn how to like remember that.
I mean, that's basically what we're doing with Alex and number blocks.
Yeah, no.
Only I feel like a cassette tape is a lot harder to kind of pay attention to. Was it at least fun, like songs?
No.
Then why on earth would you listen to that?
You have heard the stories I have told you. My childhood was probably not the most enriching, okay? Let's be honest.
That's fair. I'd say they did their best, but did they?
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes, primarily because I don't know what kind of lives they led before or experiences that they had to shape them into the people that they are today. Did it cause me a lot of trauma? Abso-fucking-lutely. That's why I'm here. Hello. Come on.
Oh my gosh.
Can't be friends with you. Not unless there's trauma.
No, we all have trauma. That's the whole point. That's what makes us fun.
I have
That's
noticed
why people
that.
listen to us.
Usually the people who find us entertaining are also the people who've experienced trauma, and their like immediate like coping mechanism is laughter. Cause humor is the only way. You're either gonna cry in a corner or you're just gonna laugh about it.
It's so sad too because I've gotten so used to like making jokes about certain things that happened in my childhood that were obviously, probably not great things. But to me, I'm like, hey, yeah, this is funny to look back on. And I'll say things and I'm laughing. And suddenly I look around and nobody else is laughing. And I'm like, oh, wrong crowd. Yeah, that's right. This is not supposed to be funny. No.
Right. This is not a Sunday church conversation. My bad.
My bad.
Sorry, Linda.
Anyways, yeah, it's just, I love that child to death. I'm doing my best to parent him and nourish this love of academics as much as possible while also, trying to ignore the constant numbers happening in my brain.
Well, speaking of parenting, let's dive into today's lovely episode. And today's episode is going to be about modern fears in parenting.
There are so many.
It's kind of gotten a little overwhelming. I know Matt and I have had a multitude of what if conversations, like when will we give them social media? How are we going to censor them? Because we can only censor so much because they're going to get their hands on it anyways. When we were younger, we didn't have as easily accessible internet access. Today, it's literally anywhere and everywhere. Schools almost require kids to have
they do
tablets and laptops. And it's like, what do you do with all of this? I'm not a parent, but you sure as hell are. So, like...
It's overwhelming because, like, you listen to the stories from your parents telling you, well, this is what we did in our day. And now you've got all of this new information around you because the internet is everywhere and the internet's telling you, well, vaccines are bad. Well, vaccines are good. Well, this is bad. Well, this is good. You need screen time. You don't need that much screen time. And schools are over here saying that you have to have tablets now because modern day, or I guess regular computers are now out of touch. So everyone gets their own tablet that they get to take home. It's just, there's so much there is so much coming at you from all directions, and you're just like, how do I even parent this?
Yeah.
Where do I even start? And then you've got everybody from your parents to your friends to just society as a whole telling you that every single thing that you do is wrong.
Which has to be hard because, I mean, I'm probably going to say it several times. I am not a parent. I don't have to deal currently, in current state, the types of pressures I'm sure you experience, because not only do you have your side with your mom and your grandparents who are involved, but you also have your husband's side of the family who is completely different, mindset, upbringing, values, and views. And, from your in-laws to your husband's grandparents that are involved. It's
a very different background that we both grew up in. My husband grew up in a very conservative home. My home was very interesting because we started off conservative and then it kind of branched out to a more liberal mindset. And then as I got older, just everything changed. Mm-hmm. So it 100% affected how my parents parented us compared to how my husband's parents parented him. And that I can definitely sometimes see in how we parent Alex. I see them watching us. And it's not like a watching and judging type thing, but it's them watching us to see, are they going to parent the way that we parented? Mm-hmm. Or what are they doing different? Do I have to do that with him as well? Or can we do our own thing? Because sometimes grandparents get to do their own thing. It's so much.
So, as an actual mother in today's society, what is your number one fear that you might consider a more modern problem?
School shootings. 100%.
That was okay. I was going to say that's a fast response, but I completely understand. And before you dive into it, I'm kind of taking over and I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine.
It's more so if I wanted to bring into the fact the differences generations have experienced in schools. Because I watched a docuseries not too long ago, and it started off with the atomic bomb with World War II and how that kind of shifted into Cold War and stuff like that. And I remember even my mom telling me who she graduated high school in like late 80s, early 90s is roughly when she graduated. But even my mom making such comments to me when she was in her younger years of having atomic bomb drills.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's my mom, most likely your mom, definitely grandparents. Okay. Now I'm thinking about when we were in school.
We didn't have bomb drills.
No.
We had tornado drills, and then when we got older, lockdowns.
Not even that. I'm not even going to consider that quite yet because we had bomb threats because 9/11 had occurred, which was our first major world experience that has forever shaped not only our generation but other generations.
Did you ever happen to have any bomb drills because you might have actually had a bomb in your school?
So
'cause we did.
I don't know if you're referring to the homeschool or the university, because the university definitely had one.
Did you have a bomb drill in your homeschool? Because that's more concerning.
Oh,
that's a whole nother question.
Your my bad. Your hometown school.
Like, my gosh.
Thank you for catching that.
Whoa.
But I know our university that we went to, the library, they ended up finding one.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. I was talking about in my middle school.
Oh, gosh, no.
We had bombs in our trash cans.
So I don't think any of the bomb threats that mine and Daniel's schools experienced actually came out to be true. However, I do remember one very specific, chaotic as all get out day. Me, Daniel, Matt, we're all in 5th grade. Every single school had pretty much gotten a bomb threat. And it started off with like the high school, then went to the middle school, and eventually they all started to converge to to the school that we were currently in. And it got to the point where they were having to send people home because they couldn't keep the kids there. It was a very chaotic and stressful day because it started off with we started getting other students from schools, and then it very quickly turned into everyone needs to go home. So that was horrifying. The craziest one, but we had several bomb threats. But our generation
Yeah.
was bomb threats.
Yeah, that is true.
Because we live in Tornado Alley, of course, you have tornado drills.
We're all used to tornado
That's
drills. There's
whatever.
nothing you can do about that.
You all made the joke of, oh, we get to tuck ourselves up against the wall and kiss your booty goodbye.
Yep.
As the tornado comes flying through.
And now you've got these active shooter drills.
Which, I will say, we barely experienced that kind of fear by the time we hit high school.
Yeah.
And even then,
It was nothing compared to today.
It was nothing compared to what it is today. Nothing compared to what it is today. And it is sad. Because it's been 14 years since I was in school, a lot has changed. And if it wasn't for the fact of Desiree giving us her real life experiences that she deals with every single day, and just the fear that her students have because of school shootings, it's like, wow, these poor children.
I mean, and I get it from multiple different sources because my mom is also a teacher. I've got some other friends who are teachers, and the things that I'm hearing from them constantly, it's traumatizing.
Absolutely.
And I mean, honestly, that's why this was such a quick response for me. Like, I can remember I was sitting here working on the rundown and I was typing up that first question. Before I even finished writing the question, I was like, school shootings, because it has gotten to be so common. And I was even looking up some like standard research on it, and
you got numbers.
I have numbers. It's, where is it from? Because I actually, it's the K-12 school shooting database. So you can look this up. And it was like from 1966, or since 1966, there's been over 2,400 school shootings between elementary and secondary schools. And mind you, that's since 1966. Since the Uvalde shooting in 2022, just 2 years ago, there's been over 600.
That just gives me chills to think about.
That's a ridiculously high increase. The fact that we've had 2,400 in, 50 years? Mm-hmm. And 600 of that was just in the last 2. It's heartbreaking and it's terrifying.
And I that's definitely a huge fear, is how can you, as a parent, justify sending your kid to a public school? It almost wants you to put him in private school, but you can't really afford private school. But then you want to like homeschool him, but like,
I'm not a teacher.
No one has, like, not that many people have the luxury of being able to homeschool their children, let alone have the patience to actually teach their children.
I don't.
I sure
I
as hell
do not.
Nope.
But I mean, that's the thing is, and that's a lot of the things that I have seen today when it comes to kind of judgment towards different parents of, oh, you send your children to a public school. Don't you know how dangerous those are? Oh, you homeschool your children. Don't you know that they'll never get to socialize that way? And I know people that they're like, by homeschooling my child, it's the only way that I feel like I'm protecting them.
Right.
And it's so terrifying.
It is terrifying. I will throw in, though, which I will say, I used to truly believe that, oh, if you were a homeschooled kid, you didn't get to socialize. I've been put in my place as I've entered adult.
There are ways to socialize your
children.
There
are actual homes, like the county that I work in, since it's next door, they actually have like a group for homeschool students, and they regularly put on events for these students to go socialize and everything. Like, they'll have a prom and they'll do like a little homecoming. Like, they will try to actively do things to give these kids still kind of the school experience without feeling like they missed out.
100%. But I mean, and that is a huge fear of mine right now. It's just, especially since Uvalde, because you always have that thought in the back of your head, you know, yeah, these school shootings happen a lot, but they'll never happen here. Uvalde is the same size as our town. The exact same size. The school is the exact same size as our elementary school here. And it's one of those things of, yeah, you always say it'll never happen here, but it basically did. And I can remember the very next day after Uvalde taking my son to his daycare and thinking, what kind of parent am I? to drop off my child not having any clue what their precautions are. And it's terrifying.
That's hard because you can only do so much. I mean,
Yeah.
as a non-parent speaking to a parent, you can only do so much. You're not Superman.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, pretty much. Just make sure that, like, no, all that I could suggest in that instance is make sure that you know what precautions your child's school is taking for those sort of situations. Are they properly prepared?
Yeah, it's sad that that has to be a consideration.
But it is. So anyways, understanding that you're not a mother, as you have made perfectly clear.
Yeah.
What are some modern day fears that you often consider when thinking about becoming a mom?
Ooh, so you know what? As soon as I can understand you saying shooting being your response. Mine would be the internet and social media.
Oh yeah.
So let me elaborate a little bit more. Like I said at the beginning of this, when you and I were little children, I don't know about you, but in my house, I remember dial-up and AOL.
Amen.
If someone was on the phone, you weren't getting on the internet. And if someone was on the internet, there were no phone calls coming in.
Oh yeah.
That's what I remember.
We had one computer and it sat in the living room.
Correct.
Yeah.
I played a lot of Minesweeper, Solitaire, Paint,
Yes.
Pinball Wizard.
Oh my gosh.
Bringing back the memories.
The noises. I can hear the noises.
Yes! You have mail. But that was our internet.
Yeah.
It was very limited. I mean, getting even a 1 gig memory card or flash drive wasn't even heard of. We in middle school used floppy disks.
Oh,
Flash
yeah.
drives wasn't even a thing until we hit high school, okay? That's 2009, 2010 and up.
Oh my
is when
gosh,
we
are
had
we
flash
that
drives.
old?
Yes. All of that to say, our internet accessibility was limited. Our social media consisted of MySpace, Neopets, and like YouTube.
Social media did not exist, okay? Like, yeah, we had MySpace in early 2008 if you were lucky enough to be allowed to use it. And even then, like, I guess you could classify that as social media, but it was so infantile compared to social media today.
Very
And
much
then
so.
Facebook hit.
Then Facebook
And
happened.
everything changed.
Facebook happened when we were in high school, like infancy is when Facebook became like.
I was fresh. No, technically it came out in 2004, but it was only allowed for college students. At first, it was just for those at Harvard, and then it branched out to other colleges, and then it branched out to everyone was allowed to use it, and that was when we were about freshmen. You would have been a sophomore.
Yeah.
I was a freshman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh my God, the amount of like Farmville because I don't know about your parents, but my parents got on it, at least my mom and my stepdad, and they wanted me to get on it purely just so that way they could have a friend to send stuff to, so that way they can get the little game achievements, because that was the big thing, is all of these games
Dude,
on
I miss
Facebook.
Farmsville. Farmville was amazing.
But it was a whole different era of the internet. Today, if you want to look something up, you just pull it up on your phone.
Yeah.
There's now even ChatGPT. I cannot tell you how many times in my professional setting where I have typed up an email or a layout or something, and I'm like, the verbiage is awful, and the audience I'm sending it to, the verbiage needs to change. And I will go to ChatGPT and I will go rewrite this to sound more professional in whatever format, copy everything I've done, and let it rewrite what I've done.
Well, and also when you just use Google, now I've noticed the very first answer that popped up is an AI response.
Most likely, yes.
Yeah, which is crazy.
So when you go from what we had, which was a completely different level of internet accessibility, to what the children have now, it's hard. Like, how can you manage that?
It's insane to think about that kind of growth in such a short amount of time. How much do we really know? How much of it is actually protected? And what on earth are our children able to get into
Correct.
that we have no idea how to work?
There are toddlers and like first and second and third graders who completely know how to completely mess with the setting in their parents' phones and unlock their phones and change the passwords. There are, children who can outpace adults in video games because that's all they know. It's just insane. And so that's my biggest fear, is because not only is it how easily accessible it is, you can't control it, it's very difficult to monitor, but then also with social media, the level of bullying, because with social media, it's so easy for people in the comments to just
lose it,
say whatever they want and not have any emotional attachment to what they say, or think about the level of impact those words might have on whoever is reading those comments.
Well, I mean, it's like they get online and they lose all personality.
It's because it doesn't impact them.
Exactly.
If it does not immediately impact them, it does not matter.
Because they cannot see the person standing directly in front of them. It's like they don't exist. Mm-hmm. And then that courage to just be able to say whatever you want with no filter comes out. And you forget that this is an actual human being that's going to be reading this stuff.
Mm-hmm. And so I have seen an increase in bullying and an increase, unfortunately, on suicides for young children. And I'm even going to throw out there children who might be struggling with their identity for the LGBTQ community. I'm speaking out on that. Like, how do you protect your child? Because me, as a bisexual woman, obviously I'm going to be very open. Mm-hmm. I'm going to encourage my kid to be whoever they want to be. But if that means that they end up being gay, bi, pan, whatever they identify as, if they prefer to be she, her, or he, him, or they, them, or whatever, I would still have to deal with the fear. My kid's different, and now they're going to get bullied.
Yeah.
How do you protect your kid of that?
But I mean, then you also have the fear of what are they looking up online at a very young age that they don't understand. Mm-hmm. That's going to be molding their minds, because they're looking up all of these different things. They don't properly know how to sort, how to cite stuff, how to look up actual journals. They're looking up information on Reddit. They're looking up information on YouTube. They're not getting real information, and that's going to alter how they think. It's going to alter the opinions that they come up with. I would much rather my child come to me and we can talk about things and we can look things up together, so that way we can find real information on it. And they're going out and they're finding all of this random information, and then they start speaking on it. And it can make things even harder for them with the other kids that they're around, because, well, now they're getting questions of, do you know what you're talking about? Do you not know what you're talking about? And it's terrifying.
Yeah, well, and we'll also throw in the other thing is sometimes there are people who try to censor things from their kids, and there are people who don't. A good example is Micah, our sweet, sweet little sensitive child, who's in first grade, came home one day to ask her mom about a particular song in a movie. First off, I feel old because she went, yeah, I'm trying to find that one song from the Deadpool movie. Excuse me.
Bye-bye.
Excuse me. First off, that makes you feel old because all of our people within our age range immediately go, I know what song you're talking about. That's a little insulting.
But also, it's not a Deadpool song.
But the thing is she's in first grade. I know, you and I know for a solid fact, her parents are not going to let her watch Deadpool.
Not at all.
Not even close, okay? Especially dad, okay? Let's be real. No. Dad is a very protective girl's dad.
Oh, yeah.
Very protective of his girls. But she got that information from her classmates.
Well, and also think about this. She's in first grade. One thing that she loves to do is play video games
She
with her
does.
dad. She is very good at video games. And she's apparently getting on to these online chat platforms
Yep.
and talking to people that she keeps telling her mom or her friends. And her mom keeps telling her, honey, you have no idea if that someone is actually your age or some 40-year-old man in a basement. You don't need to be talking to these people. And so there's so much extra monitoring that has to go on.
And it's difficult whenever you happen to be one of those households like ours is gaming is just part of your household culture.
Exactly.
Micah is currently, as you said, she's a gamer, and now her mom, Christina, is having to sit there and go, I'm having to teach my child not to talk to online strangers, and she's 6.
Well, and I mean, I often go back to one very specific case in this matter. I cannot remember her name right now, but she was a 12-year-old girl. She, I believe, was autistic. She didn't really have much of a life outside of her home because that's just where she felt the most comfortable, was right there on her gaming platform. Her mom did her best to monitor the situation. She thought she was doing well, but she had her online friends, and that was fine. Mom wakes up one morning and her daughter's not there. Finds a note saying, I think it says something along the lines of, I've gone to go be with friends or something like that. She never came home. And they looked for years for this little girl. Years. And all that they could think was she met somebody online and thought that it was safe to go with them and then just disappeared. They had no idea what happened. Fast forward, she's now 19 years old and walks into a police station and says, yeah, hi, my name's on the missing persons list. I need you to take it off. She had met somebody online and she just left her home and moved in with them.
I remember what you're talking about, because like that's a wild story.
It was such a wild story because her name was one of like the names that you knew.
Yeah.
If you followed true crime, you knew her name because it was a heartbreaking story. I'm really glad that she's alive and she's safe and she's fine, but she was literally brainwashed by somebody online, and she left her home, her family, and everything, and just moved in with this person across the country and disappeared for 7 years.
That's insane.
Yeah, so the internet scares me.
So what are some other modern day fears that you have found as a mom?
Kind of like you said, I mean, the power of social media and all of that, but also, again, I kind of go back to, there's just so much information out there. You've got people from all angles telling you, vaccines are good, vaccines are bad, mental health, when is something just your child is hyperactive, or are they ADHD? Is it something more? I mean, being completely open here, my child is incredibly smart. He's 4 years old. He is very, very intelligent with numbers. I love that about him. Sometimes we often question, this kid probably ADHD.
So let me ask you, if you're okay with me bringing this
Sure.
up. This has been kind of an on again, off again question and debate for you, like that you have personally been dealing with since he's 2.
Yeah.
And that was when he was doing things of like toodles. His hand was...
He would stim. He would like...
Toodles.
Yeah, if you watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, you had Toodles, which would fly in and give him the tools that he would use. Well, he would pretend that his hand was Toodles, and it would fly in front of his face. He'd pick a tool and he'd fly out. And he would do that for hours. And he would just sit there and he'd shake his head, he'd stim, do all those things.
And so that's one example. Another example that I'd bring up is when he was roughly, I would say 3, he had issues with it becoming dark in the car and lights on the highway.
He's had issues with food. He has issues with sensory. He has issues with things on his hands. Loud noises.
Loud noises is a big one. A big one. Numbers, his recent obsession with numbers has probably been
He's a very obsessive kid.
Very much so.
Hit the mic.
But it's still something you have personally been going, should I get him tested? Is he old enough to get tested? You've gotten advice from a friend who's in social work. You've talked to his teachers.
I've talked to his pediatrician.
You've talked to so many professionals.
And I have gotten different answers from every single person. From our excuse me, from our counselor friend. She's like, if he is, that's great. If not, that's great. Wait until he's a little bit older for a more accurate screening. His teachers are like, if he got screened now, it could help us to be able to better teach him because we know how to monitor him. His pediatrician's like, he could. He may not be. If you want to get him tested, it's completely up to you. So it's like you get different answers from every single person. But I will say this, straight across the board from every single person, maybe don't get them medicated yet, which quite frankly was never something I wanted to do. But it's also just like, that is a difficult thing for a parent because you don't want somebody to see you having your 4-year-old tested for ADHD or autism or whatever it may be and think, you just really don't want him to have whatever this is. No, I want to make sure that I know how to parent my child.
Yeah.
Because people with autism often have difficulty with outbursts. They have difficulty with sensory. They get overstimulated. And if I know that he is acting out because he is overstimulated,
you can manage that.
I know
better.
how to manage that rather than getting onto a child who is just throwing an absolute fit for no reason.
Correct.
There's 2 different ways to respond to those situations, and I need to know how to do that.
Yeah. And I mean, I this is just one of those great moments of being able to talk about of you as a parent dealing with a child who shows signs that he's
just a little special.
He's a little spicy.
He did a little mentally spicy. It's fine.
You as a parent, you're personally dealing with the multiple different advice of what to do, and is like, is my kid a little spicy? Is he just being a kid? What do I do with this? Some of the stuff he's outgrown, like the Toodles thing, he outgrew. Now he's obsessed with numbers. But
when one stimming stops, another stimming begins every time. And so that it is a very difficult thing to think about. And I would consider that to be a more modern issue because in the 70s, in the 80s, first off, I don't think autism was really thought that much about until maybe, the 90s?
Yeah. Honestly, if you look at it historically speaking, mental health has not actually been taken as seriously.
It's not been taken seriously at all
up
until recently.
I would say most likely in the last 10 years or so, it's when it's like really started to take off. But up until that point, I mean, parents in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s
you didn't talk about it.
Even in the 1800s, they either didn't talk about it, or if it got too unmanageable for them, they just kind of sent them away to an asylum, and then that was it. I can honestly say, from a generational difference, my great grandparents never put one of their daughters in an asylum.
Yeah.
She was mentally handicapped. I was always told that she kind of stopped aging mentally since the age of 7.
Yeah.
But obviously she physically kept on going. They refused to put her in an asylum or any kind of nursing home because they're like, no, because no one would care for her.
I mean, they're not wrong.
Took on the burden of caring for her up until they couldn't, and even then they still tried to care for her until they were gone. Really and truly, that's how much I love her. But so,
this is definitely more
the mental health and dealing with it, and being a parent trying to deal with it, or some kind of disability. It's a whole another ball game.
It's completely different than it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and everybody, no matter what choice you make, is going to tell you that you could have done something different. So all that I could recommend in that moment is just advocate for your child. Do what you think is best. 100%. So long as you're doing what you think is best, you're doing the right thing.
So let me ask you before we keep going. What were some of your most frustrating advice you have received from outside sources involving your child? At any stage, whether they're family or not, what is some of the advice, air quote advice, you've been given that you just went, no?
So I've got a couple. The first, obviously being in, you're at the height of the pandemic, everyone's getting sick. So I legitimately had people on Facebook posting that if you get your child completely vaccinated during a time of high pandemic, then you're a bad parent because you're just making it easier for them to get sick. I legitimately saw people posting things like that.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay.
Oh, yeah. I remember that time we shit talked those anti-vaxxers so hard.
I mean, like, if you're an anti-vaxxer, that's your prerogative. I don't agree with you. I'm going to start off with that right here. But I do understand, at least those that have the mindset of, like, staggering the vaccines a little bit more. That's one thing. You want to stagger, so long as you're getting your kids vaccinated, making sure that they're safe. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, don't sit there and call someone stupid because they're doing what a doctor tells them to do.
Right.
It infuriated me. The other one, it's interesting.
Okay.
And you're going to think this is interesting.
Okay.
Because at first, when I heard it, I rolled my eyes. And you probably will too, because it's a rare thing. But with Alex, one of his big issues right now is food. He is, like, you hear of picky kids.
Oh, yeah.
This child, it is so bad to the point where he will eat chicken nuggets. He will eat pizza. He will eat a cheese quesadilla. And maybe some spaghetti. But if it does not look like the regular ones that he normally eats, for example, if somebody accidentally put a tiny speck of cilantro on the side of a cheese quesadilla, he won't eat the whole quesadilla. Like, it is very specific. He will not eat homemade chicken nuggets. They have to be the ones out of the frozen bag. If you get him anything else, he will not eat it. I have tried so... I'm laughing. I've tried so many things. I have been gentle. I have been harsh. I have been nice. I have been mean.
What has been your recent mom trick?
My newest mom trick, which has been working.
It didn't last night, but carry on.
My newest mom trick is telling him that if he does not eat, he will not get the nutrients his body needs, and then his fingers will fall off and he won't be able to count anymore. Technically, it's not a lie, because if you don't get the right nutrients, you can get scurvy? Yeah, scurvy. And so, I mean, like, he could get sick if he doesn't eat, so I'm trying here. And it works. It does work. I can at least get him to try a bite of a green bean or try a bite of a new food. But the first time I said that around my mom, her face, I couldn't tell if she was disappointed or proud.
Oh, no, honey. I'm pretty sure your mom was proud because she understood. She was like,
Mind you,
we're having to do the parent lie.
Mind you, 5 minutes after I said this, my child then also proceeded to try and tattle on my brother for doing something. And I immediately, without hesitation, responded, "Have you told Jesus?" And everybody in the room just stopped and looked at me. I was like, if it's not worth telling Jesus first, you don't need to be tattling. And he just looked at me and said, no. And I said, well, if you're not willing to pray about it, then I don't want to hear about it either. And my mom's like, what is happening? I was like, I'm tired of him tattling. If he's not willing to pray about it, then he doesn't need to be talking about it. I teach him to pray, and I teach him not to tattle. 2 birds, 1 stone. Anywho, going back to the point at hand.
You're raising your child to not be a snitch.
That's the goal. Snitches get stitches, okay?
No, they get nails. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Anywho, going back to the story at hand. So all of this to be said, he has a lot of issues with food. And one of the pieces of advice that I have actually received is to get him tested for a new eating disorder. There is a new eating disorder. I can't tell you what it's called. And when I say new, I mean like they've known about it probably for the last 15 years. It's only started being diagnosed in children as young as 7 within like the past 5 years. It's relatively new, and it's basically a mental block in their brain to where anytime they have a type of food placed in front of them that they're not used to, they will physically gag and reject it. Like they do not want to try it. And quite frankly, we have kind of seen some of that in him. And the first time I heard that, I was like, he's 4. He's not going to have an eating disorder.
How can a 4-year-old get an
Exactly.
eating disorder?
And apparently it's not that you develop this eating disorder, but it's that you're born with it. And since hearing about this, I've actually met someone who's now 20-something-year-old has this disorder.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, I have. And I was like, hold up, wait a second. You're telling me like, and we had a full conversation about it. And he's like, yeah, the first time we heard about it, our son was 10. And at that point, they were only diagnosing it in adults. They weren't diagnosing it in children yet. And he's like, but everything they said was completely spot on. He would completely just gag and reject any thought of a new food. He was terrified of it. He would completely throw fits, and they're like, we tried everything. And he just could not do it. And they said, even now after years of therapy and different medications, they're like, he's just now beginning to kind of open up his world and consider trying new foods. And even then, he just can't do it.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's so interesting. So it's one of those of, is it a maybe crazy piece of advice to try and have your 4-year-old tested out for a food disorder? Possibly. Is it possible that he has it? Unlikely. However, apparently it is actually something that can happen. And considering on maybe some of our child's, symptoms, it is something that to actually consider.
I mean, if he continues like this and he's 7, then yeah, I would. It's one, because the thing is like, it's one of those I can totally see as a parent.
Yeah.
How this would be a hard choice to make, because as a parent, you're like, is this my child just being a child and is just in their picky food stage that every child goes through? Or is this a thing? Is
this an actual problem that we need to address?
When should I, like, it's kind of like, when
do you make that discussion?
Like, when should this be considered an issue? Like, at what point? What's that milestone? What's that line where you're just kind of like, maybe this is a little bit more than just normal, air quote, normal child behavior. So, like, that's,
yeah.
Golly, it's hard to be a parent.
It's very difficult because there are going to be things that will pop up. Even if you have a completely healthy baby, there could be things that will pop up at any point over that child's life that you have to then question, what am I going to address?
Let's just go down through a small little known general list of things that parents have to deal with, whether they're good or bad, that involves their children. If a dad is not around, he's not a good dad, but he's a hard worker. If your dad is around often, he's a great dad. He loves to spend time with the kid. He's just being a dad. Moms, yeah, you should definitely breastfeed your kid. Ew, you're breastfeeding your kid in public? Like, oh my gosh. People breastfeed for however long they can. Some people breastfeed until their children are 5 or 6, and
you're
that's
still
frowned on.
Breastfeeding your child after the age of 1? They're 18 months old. Don't you know that's disgusting?
Yeah, like, that's just, like, little things that everyone has to deal with. Golly,
it's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a lot.
But you know what? As an aunt looking in, you're doing a good job. You and Daniel are doing a good job. Alex,
we're trying.
Alex is look, he's an asshole. I love the asshole. I do.
He gets that from my brother.
He does. But I still love the kid, and I will beat up another toddler in a heartbeat if I need to. Like, I'll throw some fists if I need to.
There have been times where I'm like, do I need to throw hands with a child?
Yeah. Yeah, I will. For Alex, for Micah, and for Gemma. And also for my other nephews and niece, because I'm not going to say their name because they're my brother's kids, and I don't think he'd be okay with that. I'll throw hands for all of them.
Yeah. So question, do you have any final words just in general for modern day moms as an auntie looking in?
You definitely got this. Do the best you can with gentle parenting, even if it means being a sarcastic parent, because sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Okay?
Sarcasm will save your life. It's okay. It's better to be sarcastic with a child sometimes than to be honest with the child. So just let it roll. It's fine. It's fine.
Also, just for any parent right now who's currently going through the struggles of having a traumatic childhood and having to unlearn those trauma so that way they can give their kid a much, much better and slightly less trauma-filled childhood, you're doing great.
Yeah.
It's hard. Those hard days are going to be hard, but you're doing great. I'm proud of you. Great. I'm very proud of you.
Yes.
That's it.
Good job.
Yeah, that was just words of encouragement. You got this. Call that auntie. Call that support system. Trust me, someone's willing to care to help you out.
100%. I mean, really at this point, the main thing that I would say is never stop advocating for your child.
Ooh, yeah.
You are your child's fighter. From birth on, I don't care how old they get, fight for your child. And stay true to yourself, because so long as you know at your heart that what you're doing is right, then you're being a good parent. Keep showing up.
I think that's the best advice I got from my therapist. If you stop questioning whether you're a good parent or not, that's when you should probably be concerned. If you're constantly questioning, am I being a good enough parent? Am I raising my kid right? Am I doing the right things? That should be enough to let you know, yeah, you're doing the right things and you're being a fucking parent.
That makes me feel better, because I cannot tell you, it's got to be daily at this point. Every single day I'm asking myself, am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right choice? Because every single time another one of these, little fits happen or another one of these outbursts happens, I'm just like, please tell me I'm doing something right, because this is hard.
You are
hard.
You're doing the best you can.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of you.
I am doing the best.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. With all of the changes in today's society compared to the world we grew up in, we thought this would make for an interesting topic of discussion. Social media is overwhelming, the outside world is terrifying, and our littles look to us for everything. No matter what others may say, if you're showing up every day for those babies, loving them with all your heart and supporting them, then you're doing well. You're a good parent, both moms and dads.
All parents. And if you have any questions regarding today's episode or would like to share any of your own personal modern day parenting fears, you can send those to us at theunstableBrew@gmail.com. If you would like to share any of these stories with us but remain anonymous, just let us know and we will be sure to honor that request. We often will try to be sure that if anything gets sent our way, we try to fit it into any future episodes that it may fit into.
If you have any I just tried to read your thing. My brain went, whoop!
Good job.
I know. I'm doing great. Additionally, if you would ever like to share with us a story, simply to share it but not have it shared on a future episode, please feel free to do that as well. Simply let us know that the email is for venting purposes only and to not be shared on the show. We will respect your request because boundaries matter, people.
I love it. If you would like to follow us on social media, we are available on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and one day X, I promise, under The Unstable Brew. We often are posting promo videos and extra fun content on these platforms.
The longer you go not setting up our X account,
At this point, it's a joke. It's okay. Plot twist, we're never getting an X account. We're doing our best.
And remember, we're available for your listening pleasure or displeasure on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can even watch our episodes on YouTube. Please like, share, comment, download to your heart's content.
And we will be back next time with more unstable content.
Bye.